Emergency at Windscale Atom Plant, and the milk from 200 square miles of farmland is condemned as radioactive. But for these filter tops, once nicknamed Cockcroft's Folly because Sir John Cockcroft insisted on them, farms much farther away would have faced not emergency but disaster. Now the worst seems to be over, though Mr. Stan Ritson, who helped to bring Windscale's overheated reactor under control, was radioactive for 4 days and couldn't even kiss his wife till the Geiger counters gave permission. The farmers carry on as usual, for cows have to be milked, whatever happens to the milk afterwards. You can't explain radioactivity to a cow. Milk Marketing Board lorries collect the contaminated milk. The trouble arose when radioactive dust from the overheated pile fell on the Cumberland pastures, and milk samples rushed to Harwell were found to contain 6 times as much radioactive iodine as international health standards permit. So for the time being, down the drain it goes. Meanwhile, emergency supplies from outside are delivered to more than 5,000 people who normally get their milk from the banned farms. Experts believe the danger is already past, but until they're quite sure, the ban stays. With atoms, you can't be too careful.
Prime Minister Harold Macmillan met President Eisenhower to sign an agreement that would change Britain's relationship with America forever. But just days before, a fire had broken out at Windscale, the country's first nuclear reactor.
I looked down onto a blazing inferno.
Britain was on the brink of an unprecedented disaster.
If it goes up, we will all go with it.
The fire threatened to destroy the special relationship before it began.
You could imagine bottom dropping out of Macmillan's stomach.
Facing humiliation, Macmillan decided to keep the truth about Britain's worst nuclear disaster secret.
He covered it up, plain and simple.
Now, secret tape recordings reveal the reasons behind Macmillan's cover-up.
At first they said if it went over 1,200, God help us.
And why the men and women who fought the fire felt he betrayed them. This is a story of political spin before the phrase was invented, and how Britain's nuclear hopes turned into a nuclear nightmare.
I have never been so frightened in my whole life.
Mankind had not faced anything like this ever before.
Three months, more or less.
No excuse, no excuse.
Oh, it's my excuse. I've been working away. Right, Rob. Right, good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for coming on such a blustery day. Right, I have to check whether I'm dreaming or not over the last few years, and unfortunately I'm not. So kicking off 2024, we have Marianne Bennett, back with details of what seems utter madness, with deep subsea mining under the Irish Sea, coal and nuclear hand in glove. Again, corporations getting confident and doing what thou wilt, and obtaining an easy government rubber stamp. Again. The new factory at Whitehaven will employ AI and robots.
AI?
Hey up. And what could possibly go wrong with that? Let's find out. Please welcome Marianne B.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's so good to be here again. Oh, right. Testing. Is that okay? Yeah, excellent. All right. Right. Well, thanks very much, everybody. It's it's been a long while. I think I'm quite a lot greyer than I was last time I came along. And as Rob said, it's a terrible night. So I mean, it's a miracle that anybody's here whatsoever. And it's so good to see everybody here. Right. So nuclear and coal hand in fourth industrial revolution.
Ignore me.
Hand in fourth industrial revolution glove. Difficult to say that. The image there is actually an image of the coal miners at Whitehaven, and it's a memorial because Whitehaven and that area of St Bees is actually, it was called the most dangerous pit in the country, and that's because of the area is so full of methane, and the reason that the coal mining actually stopped there was because the area is so faulted, the geology is so faulted, and that's one of the reasons why the Lake District is such a beautiful area. You've got such amazing differences in the geology, but it also means that the coal mining there was so dangerous, so very dangerous, and hundreds of men and boys died. And then on the image there you've got the new era, and I'll be talking a bit about that as we go along. Okay, so just a little bit about Sellafield, and on the background to this image, I don't know if you can see, but this is sea scale, and you've got the bathing huts at the back there, and you've got a little boy there digging the sand, and the girls in their hats and the bonnets, and the date of that is around about 1890, and it became a really sort of popular seaside resort because the Furness Railway went up alongside the west coast, and it actually went to Sellafield because there was a hamlet of more than several farms there. Anyway, a bit about Sellafield. In 1941, UK government wanted somewhere remote with sea access, and that was to make TNT. And so it was actually a Royal Ordnance factory to start off with. And so you've got fertile farmland, two major rivers running through this farmland, and there were several, all the farms were compulsory purchased, and that's still happening today. But Sellafield is, and the nuclear industry is actually buying up ever more farmland in the area. And Muncaster Castle has actually sold a lot of land recently to Sellafield at Drigg. So that west coast is being bought up at a rate of knots. So the Second World War, it was the area became the manufacturer of weapons to defeat Hitler. The war was brought to a close when the United States dropped the atomic bombs on Japan in 1945, and it was absolutely horrendous. So after the Second World War, the Cumbrian site, which wasn't a nuclear site then, it was still the TNT site, it was actually leased to a clothing company, and called Courtaulds. They made clothes, and I think they were quite famous for the rayon fabric. And anyway, there was sort of a lull in the the beginning of the nuclear arms race, but then by 1947 Courtaulds were booted off the site, and this time the government wanted to develop nuclear weapons of their own, and so the very first nuclear reactors to produce plutonium in the UK were put up at Sellafield. It was called the wind-scale piles. And 1952, the UK achieved status of nuclear power after detonating an atomic bomb in the Montebello Islands of Australia. So the world's first civil nuclear power station, I like the way they call it civil, it's like it's very polite, Calder Hall, was built and operated by the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. And you might have seen the very sort of proper opening of Calder Hall in the old Pathé film reels. That was in 1956, and it was all very, all very safe and secure, and everything was lovely. And by 1957, the UK's worst nuclear accident happened when Windscale Pile number 1 caught fire, and that released radioactive material throughout the UK and much of Europe too. And some of that material actually included stuff like polonium, which is really the most expensive poison that the world has made. It was what poisoned the Russian Litvinenko. So all the way through there, all the way while we've been campaigning for 16 years, and the Sellafield has consistently said, civil nuclear power and the military applications of nuclear have got nothing whatsoever to do with each other. But just on the 11th of January, that was blown wide open when the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero actually said, and quite blatant about this, that they'll work jointly with the Ministry of Defence and key delivery partners to identify and tackle common supply chain challenges to ensure that we have a resilient nuclear supply chain. That was on the 11th of January. So now they're not even pretending, that civilian nuclear power and military are hand in hand. It's actually blatant. And Richard Outram actually came to talk to you about the possibility that the industry is looking at of shipping nuclear waste to Preston to burn in an incinerator at Springfields. He's very much worked with Professors Andy Sterling and Phil Johnston to actually expose this connection between the civil nuclear power and the military. And Richard said to say hi, so I'm saying hi.
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 Hi, Rich.
Okay, so what's in the name? Sellafield. So after the Windscale fire, the site of Windscale and Calder Hall was renamed. And we think Sellafield actually, it's got such dark connotations now. But the opposite side of Sellafield, there's an area of green, and that's called Moorside. We call it Moorside. It's actually was different farms in the area. And on the other side of that, there's the village of Beckermet or Beckermet. And at Beckermet, there's a church there, St Bridget's Church, and in the churchyard, there's lots of graves of the yeomen of Sellafield. Because it was actually such a fantastic farming area. And at Sellafield there would have been the two rivers, the Calder and the Ian, lots of salmon and freshwater pearl mussels. And underneath Sellafield, filled in now, there was also a freshwater town. And it's a 6 kilometre square nuclear site. It's absolutely enormous. It's bigger than any town or village in the area, absolutely vast. And that same churchyard where you've got the yeoman and Hannah and the other name of the Hannah and Daniel of Sellafield on that other gravestone. So the same churchyard, you've got Viking crosses, which are absolutely amazing. And in Scotland, they really sort of revere their Viking crosses, when you go up on the west coast. And they've got huge sort of exhibitions and museums, to go and see the Viking crosses. But these are just, abandoned, left, not talked about. And they actually date from the 1100s, and they're pretty amazing things to see. And there was also a Viking hoard actually found on the site where they're planning or proposing to have new nuclear build. So that was some metal detectorists actually went along and found this amazing hoard of Viking jewellery, silver. Okay, so we're kind of, if anybody's seen Billy Elliot, you're kind of in that, you've got Margaret Thatcher there, evil, the evil coal, and we think of coal and nuclear as being mortal enemies. And so 1984-85, there was a push to close coal mines, throwing whole communities out of work overnight, and rebranding at the same time. Nuclear was rebranded as climate friendly. You might have heard of the original plan to bury nuclear waste at, it was called Longlands Farm at, in West Cumbria, and that was by Nirex, which is now Nuclear Waste Services. So the Longlands farm, that Longlands Farm, which is in the early 1990s, British Coal were asked to help delivery of Geological Disposal Facility. And that was for low and intermediate level nuclear wastes. So the borehole design was commissioned by BNFL, now Sellafield and the NDA, who in turn commissioned British Coal to do the job. That's from the Geological Society memoirs. So it was a whole long campaign, and this was just for low and intermediate level waste. It wasn't for high level waste, which is being proposed now as nuclear waste burial. But Nirex were halted by Cumbria County Council in 1997 at a public inquiry, and it was a massive event, this public inquiry. It went on for weeks. Friends of the Earth fielded lots of scientists, as did Greenpeace. And in the end, the planning inspector of the inquiry actually agreed with Cumbria County Council that the area should not be used as a nuclear waste dump, and that was for low to intermediate level wastes. But if they were going down that route, they should look elsewhere. So, move on to 2011, and we've got a very fuzzy picture there of Charles Hendry MP, who at the time was the chair of the Geological Disposal Implementation Board, and he's cutting the ribbon on the premises of a company called Itmesoil. I'll probably pronounce that wrong, but it's a Sussex-based international company specialising in instrumentation measuring stress in large-scale construction projects. And the Chief Executive Officer of this company is the future Cumbria coal boss, Mark Kirkbride. So as far back as 2011, the person in charge of the geological disposal was shaking hands with the future coal boss at this infamous coal mine at Cumbria. So that Charles Hendry actually was at the time, 2011, he was actually also, as well as congratulating Mark Kirkbride, he was also congratulating Cumbria County Council for their foresight in inviting the this managing radioactive waste safely nuclear dump process, which was the sort of successor to Nirex. But this time Charles Hendry and the government planned to put in high-level nuclear wastes. That was halted by Cumbria County Council in 2013, so his congratulations were a bit premature there. When Eddie Martin gave a fantastic speech to the councillors saying, you just can't leave nuclear waste alone. It's like a 2-year-old, it's really active and it gets everywhere. You just can't dump it underground. And so that particular process was stopped in 2013. And up there, that picture at the top, that's all the boreholes that were drilled by the coal authority, or the coal board as it was then. And a picture of Charles Hendry and Mark Kirkbride. I'd found the images of this like ages ago, and but they were removed off the internet. And so this is actually from a French site. But yeah, so obviously they're wanting to not highlight that connection too much. So coal and nuclear, pretty much, good buddies. So Mark Kirkbride's company went into administration in 2014 in order to give protection from creditors. And then he set up West Cumbria Mining, same year, focused primarily on coal, was what the website and the information said. They've dropped that as well, that's now been dropped. Now they are, it's just coal. So we've got some images there. That one of the Trojan horse, that was from 1996, and that's Anita there on the right-hand side, who came along last time we gave a presentation. So she's been campaigning against the nuclear dump for an awful long time. But the reason for the Trojan horse was that what the boreholes were supposed to be was a rock characterisation facility. And people kind of saw through this and said, well, actually, it's just a Trojan horse for a deep nuclear dump. But as I say, in 1996, that was for intermediate level wastes. So, the same time that Itman Soil went into administration, 2013-14, the Coal Authority granted Mark Kirkbride's new venture, West Cumbria Mining, licence to drill under the Irish Sea and to search out coking coal seams. Licences were given without any public scrutiny or discussion by county councillors, even though these boreholes would be drilled through fracture zones of the deep geology under the Irish Sea and the St Bees and Whitehaven area. And the boreholes actually also had lots of water pushed through them to test the hydrology of the area. A bit like jumping up and down on a rotten roof to test the geology of an area that's already been so very much mined out. So as a result of the coal mine rock characterisation, there's over 4,000 metres of drill core held in 851 core boxes in long-term storage at the old Hague Mining Museum. And the Hague Mining Museum, the buildings and land, that's up on top of the top of Whitehaven, had received 2.4 million heritage lottery funding. 2.4 million, and it was a really fantastic resource for the people of Whitehaven. People used to go there, and there's all sorts of community groups used to go and do different events, and you've got all the beautiful old mining equipment in there and presentations and things. But all that was bought by West Cumbria Mining for £1, courtesy of the Coal Authority, who handed their £1 pre-emption right to the coal mine developer. I mean, it stinks, it really does stink. But all this is presented in the news as, oh, fantastic, the heritage of coal mining is returning to Cumbria.
Yeah. I'd have given them £2.
£2, a bargain. That's twice as much as what Mark Kirkbride paid for it, yeah. So the other photograph there, we've got this was in 2017. The coal mine rock characterisation drilling offshore from St Bees Head, below the seabed to a depth of 2,000 feet. So it's going down, 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 a long way. And you can see the drilling rig there. So there was drilling rigs all over the place in the Irish Sea to do this, and on land. Okay. So that quote, clearly the coal mine is a precursor to a GDF. That was actually made by Eddie Martin, the former leader of Cumbria County Council. But Cumbria County Council no longer exists. It's now two unitary authorities. You've got Copeland and Allerdale, and also Westland and Furness. So what's happened is the two areas that are most pro-nuclear have been put together as one, and Cumbria County Council has lost, or it doesn't exist, so it's got no right of veto or anything. So everything's been narrowed down to this one area. So there's a bit of a cartoon there, and I've been doing, just for my own benefit really, is something called Wastwater Chronicles. And the top of the cartoon going, oh look, the lawyer's letter means the council have to ratify the yes vote, their yes vote. And this was at a time, 2019, when it was really sort of nuclear campaigners that were pushing back against the coal mine. At that meeting, the 2019 planning meeting, there was no Friends of the Earth there, Cumbria Wildlife Trust, none of the big hitters that you would expect to be opposing a coal mine, so near to Sellafield. So after that meeting, in which Cumbria County Council gave the Mark Kirkbride the licence to drill, he actually said to me, you should get a conscience. After, because I'd spoken up and I'd talked about the fact that the area was so close to Sellafield, and there was coal mines actually cause earthquakes, that's well known, and Sellafield is subject to something called liquefaction, which even very, very low rate earthquakes can cause this. And so that was what I the comment I got from the coal mine boss. But what we didn't realise at that time, at that meeting, was just a few days after that meeting where he got the approval for the coal mine, he was appointed to the Government Committee on Radioactive Waste Management, sponsored by the same government department as the Coal Authority. The department is now called the Department for Energy Security Net Zero. So that the banner up there is just something that we've been using on the Facebook page. It's Albert Einstein saying nuclear power is one hell of a way to boil water. High-level nuclear waste may be 100 degrees centigrade or higher. And what Mark Kirkbride had written in I think it was the 2022 Committee on Radioactive Waste Management report, 18th report, it was compiled by Mark Kirkbride, remember the coal mine boss. He said, high-level nuclear waste needs to be disposed of in a distributed manner to ensure adequate spacing for heat dissipation into the surrounding rock mass. And that's why, the plans for what's called the Geological Disposal Facility are so huge. It would be 26 kilometres square, and when people say bury it under Westminster, well, the whole of the Westminster area isn't 26 kilometres square. And at the moment, the nuclear waste is cooled by waste water, and millions of gallons go into cool it every day. So it's waste water and also different rivers and old mines that's going to cool the nuclear waste. Okay, on to the next one. So, the question is, so Sellafield isn't dangerous enough? You've already got all the existing mines that go along from Maryport all the way down to Whitehaven and beyond. So that whole area, talking about jumping up and down on a roof, it is exactly like that. It's a honeycomb of mines. And these mines extend out underneath the Irish Sea. At Whitehaven, there was even stables underneath the land for 50 horses that would have been, working the trolleys of coal. So it's it's a very, very fragile area, in an area with already very, very complex geology. And so that where you've got this West Cumbria mining now, I've tried to sort of put the wording exactly where they're talking about mining. You can see Sellafield there, and I don't know if you've noticed, but that's just from Google Maps. I haven't doctored that photograph at all. So that Sellafield is the biggest concrete mass in the whole of Cumbria and in that area of the northwest. You know, it's quite staggering. And so they're talking about new nuclear on the, as we said, you know, before, about where the Viking Cross was and that area there at Beckermet. And as you can see, the plan for where they're looking at now for a geological nuclear dump is right adjacent to Mark Kirkbride's coal mine. Now that smacks of huge sort of cronyism, and you know, it's just incredible. But the press are really not keen to pick up on this. You know, they just want to talk about the climate aspects of the coal mine, and it's kind of it seems really obvious that governments are only too happy to be accused of climate hypocrisy and all the rest of it, but just don't mention nuclear with regard to coal mine. Okay, so the geological nuclear dump planned for high-level, hot, very, very hot nuclear wastes would be sandwiched in between a coal mine and the Morecambe gas fields. And that sounds really sort of, you know, a recipe for disaster. So we've got I just put a thing up there of the 4 industrial revolutions, and this is kind of, the dates are not exact. You know, it all overlaps each other, so the dates are not exact at all. So the first industrial revolution was coal mining, basically, and that, as I say, that's been going on in Cumbria since probably, you know, the 1300s. You know, when the monks of St Bees were around. You know, they were mining coal, so it's been going on an awful long time. Then you've got the 1870s to you know, 60s, electricity, gas, oil, internal combustion engine, car and plane. And then the third industrial revolution, you've got the nuclear weapons, nuclear power, electronics, telecommunications, computers, space expeditions, biotechnology. So 2001 onwards, and I think, you know, most people sort of would say it's when Klaus Schwab said about, you know, we're going to have this fantastic fusion of technologies, biometrics, smart systems, blurring physical, digital and biological spheres. And the nuclear industry is at the forefront of that. Okay. So, what's happening at Whitehaven? Well, at the moment, that's what's happening. And that started happening when Michael Gove approved the coal mine in December 2022. The old coal mines started leaking. So that's going into Whitehaven Harbour. They've only done 2 tests on it since 2022. And we asked for freedom of information what those tests showed, because they weren't telling the public. They just said it's heavy metals, you know, nothing, it's just iron ore. Yeah. But what's in it as well is all sorts of horrible nasties, you know, cadmium, nickel, all sorts of terrible, terrible stuff.
That's probably coming from the stuff they already dumped down those mines.
Well, it's coming from the coal mines, definitely. Yeah. From the old coal mines. But what we think is that Mark Kirkbride's boreholes have actually caused this. Yeah, they've reignited the coal mines, or sort of jigged the hydrology and upset the sort of, you know, obviously there was some sort of equilibrium before, which is now not there. And this is the guy. Whether or not that is true, what's happening in Whitehaven should be a red flag to any sort of mining in that area whatsoever, whether it's for coal, whether it's for a deep nuclear dump, or anything. You know, this has been going on since 2022, and if it was happening in Poole Harbour or somewhere down south, I think they would have sorted it out, or at least people would have been fined and, you know, things would have happened. But because it's Whitehaven, and because people have been sort of coerced into thinking that a new coal mine would be fantastic, then you know, it's kind of, oh, it's just iron brew in the harbour, you know, it's just nothing. It's absolutely incredible.
Could this be actually intentional?
Who?
Because when there was that Gulf incident, they put crew exit, that was deliberate.
Yeah.
It was to get people off the land and the fishermen out to the sea,
yeah.
so they could get corporation back to the land. It was deliberate.
I would, yeah, I mean, anything's open, isn't it, really? I mean, who knows? They're not really saying anything. Yeah, so that's what's happening now.
Is it still like that?
It's still like that, yeah.
Did you hear what Michael Gove made a speech in 1987 about Northern England?
Go on.
He said something about we have a new empire, a new British empire, we're a happy south,
the desolate north, yeah.
The desolate north with the jack-toothed northerners, northern
yeah.
cruel northerners will want something or other. We suppress them now. We suppress them now and get richer. Margaret Thatcher, something like that. We're not bothered about them because the rich will keep them in power.
Yeah, the desolate north. Well, it's definitely desolate north at Whitehaven with the this stuff coming out of the out of the coal mines. Okay, and there's a bit more on the sorry.
I'm just asking, like something like this goes on. Where's your Extinction Rebellion lot? How come they're not compared?
Well, they've been sort of doing something up at the coal mine, but they're only talking about climate.
Oh, right.
You know,
okay.
It's obviously if it's not anything to do with climate, then nothing much happens.
Okay, right.
You know, and it was nuclear campaigners that first opposed the coal mine. You know, which was quite sort of staggering to us. And yeah, it took a long time before climate campaigners actually came on board and opposed. And then when that happened, all the press, which we'd been sort of a little bit of press about how close the coal mine would be to Sellafield, and possibility of earthquakes and all that all went out of the window, and that's kind of not being highlighted. Okay, so we've got the town most polluted with old mine water. Is also chosen as the first robotics and artificial intelligence collaboration hub in the UK. So yeah, it's quite a contrast, isn't it? So we've got the robotic dog there visiting the shop in Whitehaven. It's all good news stuff, all good news stories, you know. And so it's a joint initiative. This it's called the Robotics and AI Collaboration Hub. It's the first ever, you know, in the UK. And it's a joint initiative developed by Sellafield, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority and Manchester University. So the director of this facility said United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority and the NDA need remotely operated tools. That's because no human can get anywhere near the high-level nuclear waste that are efficient, reliable, cost-effective and reusable. Well, they're only reusable as long as they're not contaminated and then become nuclear waste, and then they go into a nuclear dump. The next generation of robotics and smart machines will deliver our mission faster, cheaper and at lower risk. Learning together in collaboration. Yeah. So this work, you know, that's being done won't just be for Sellafield, but will benefit the whole region. So watch out, Preston and St Anne's. You're going to be benefited. So that old newspaper cutting there is of the William Pitt disaster. Remember, we're talking about the massive coal mine under the sea, and they actually join up all the way along, you know, to Whitehaven. They're all interconnected, and the William Pitt massive, you know, disasters there where hundreds of people died. But the robotics hub is built on the top, or is using a building on top of the old William Pitt industrial estate. Sounds like they're taking the mickey, really, doesn't it? So, coal and nuclear, hand in robotic AI hand. The coal mine chief executive officer, who's, remember, is also the nuclear dump boss. His preferred suppliers for his coal mine include Herrenknecht, and his preferred suppliers for the nuclear dump, because he's the one in charge of looking at the construction and costings and delivery of a GDF. So his preferred suppliers for that are also Herrenknecht. And he's used that as the recommended basis for the costings. And this advice on the costings, where he references Herrenknecht, was given to University of Manchester, which is a partner of the robotics hub. I really found this by accident, really. This was in a thesis by a student at the University of Manchester, but obviously Mark Kirkbride has given the students the benefit of his vast knowledge and on the costings of GDF, and said, oh yeah, you know, you can use the same tunnel boring machines as what I'm going to use for my coal mine. Yeah. So onwards. So this is what the machines are.
That's for HS2.
That's for HS2. That's a Herrenknecht machine.
The old mines for a railway station.
Yeah, that's a Herrenknecht machine, which did HS2. But this Herrenknecht is a technology leader in mechanised tunnelling systems. So engineers at Herrenknecht set out to build an industrial Internet of Things platform that provided insight into live and historic data for all their tunnel boring machines. These machines have thousands of sensors generating high velocity data, sometimes in remote areas with limited connectivity. And I remember reading once that the more automation there is in mines, you know, the more sort of likelihood of things going badly wrong. So these are massive industrial machines, and this is the kind of thing that would be planned at Whitehaven for the coal mine, but also Mark Kirkbride says for the nuclear dump as well. So as you can see, you know, they're really sort of hand in glove, the two industries, coal and nuclear. So this nuclear waste that's going to go into the nuclear dump that the coal mine boss is planning to you know, deliver on behalf of the government, it's all being totted up by this company, and the company happens to be the same company that's responsible for the post office scandal.
Oh, brilliant! Brilliant.
So So this information has actually been was actually discovered by somebody in Radiation Free Lakeland on the Facebook group, and who's a fantastic researcher. And we passed all this on to the Guardian and Daily Mail and all the rest of them. And he said, "Oh, that's really concerning. But unless you've got any actual proof of them, you know, of stuff going astray or things missing." Nuclear waste missing, then it's not really a story, which is really strange because absolutely everything Fujitsu have done since is a story, apart from the fact that they're controlling all the UK's nuclear waste material, where it is, where it's going, and you know, it's where it's been. Yeah, so what they actually say is the UK Atomic Energy Authority uses, handles and stores a wide range of radioactive materials as part of its role in restoring the environment of nuclear sites. Working with Fujitsu to deliver ATOM, they love the acronyms, don't they? ATOM is the accounting, tracking of material, not of radioactivity, just of material, could be anything, couldn't it? But atom. It's been a pleasure to deliver Atom, teamwork that has achieved what we believe is an excellent market-leading solution. And that's Dick Third, the Nuclear Materials Advisor for the United Atomic Energy Authority. So, that's his real name, yeah. Now he works for Nuclear Waste Management, I think.
Dick Third?
It's the comprehensive track and trace application.
Dick Third? Or is it Turd?
There's some very good alternatives coming out here. Yeah. So he's worked closely with Fujitsu on the project, and he actually says one of the problems with radioactive materials is that they have properties that computer-based logistics packages don't handle. Unlike tins of beans, radioactive materials with short half-lives can transform into another isotope entirely. So that's very reassuring for the UK. Yeah.
Sounds like they're going to mix them up with tins of beans now.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Right, next one. So Atom actually first rolled out in 2001 to UK sites. And strangely enough, 2001 was when Fujitsu took over the post office thing, I think. And before that, it was International Computers Limited, which had been set up by Tony Benn, who was a Postmaster General, who wanted a sort of computing system that would rival the big companies. But I think that worked well, that did work well, but then it was taken over by Fujitsu. So they've enjoyed a 40% increase in nuclear materials accounting efficiency, a significant drop in maintenance and support costs, so it's cheap. You know, Fujitsu's cheap for counting up all the radioactive materials. So, you know, it's a question of do you feel lucky? And we've got there some of the radioactive materials entering the Springfield site at Preston. Yeah. We were just there randomly. We weren't there randomly. We were actually there to protest against the nuclear fuel fabrication. But we saw the, a big open vehicle of uranium hexafluoride going into the site.
They've just won a grant as well to locally in the news last couple of weeks.
So, yeah, they're always getting grants, aren't they? There's enough money for nuclear. Yeah, so it's quite insidious, isn't it, really? Okay. So the fourth industrial revolution stands to use more energy, resources, and create more pollution than all the previous three put together. And this is all, I mean, I don't know I'm not technical at all, so it's, I'm just sort of, I love reading and finding out things, but what we've found out is very, very, very scary. So we know that blockchain, which is a key part of artificial, I was going to say insemination, but it's not that. That would be quite good. Anyway, blockchain was preceded by Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency, which made it all possible. And interestingly, Professor Bitcoin is Jem Bendel of the University of Cumbria, the first university in the world to accept Bitcoin. And Jem Bendel is also a World Economic Forum Global Young Leader 2012.
Nice.
Yeah, so you see how it pins in quite well. He wrote Deep Adaptation, the paper that's Extinction Rebellion's inspiration on climate chaos. Bitcoin and blockchain use eye-watering amounts of energy, more than many countries, which is why volcanoes in Iceland are being drilled deeper and deeper for ever more extreme geothermal energy. Right. This is actually a quote from some, highfalutin energy guru. Iceland is a strategic location for blockchain facilities thanks to its reliable and economical energy and its cool climate, explains the Chief Executive Officer of ETEX everywhere, Borealis. According to international studies, the country is among the safest data centre locations on the planet and produces 100% renewable energy. These are ideal conditions which enable us to offer competitive solutions for blockchain infrastructure. So there's a huge amount of blockchain infrastructure on Iceland because there's been criticism of the blockchain, Bitcoin, artificial, I keep wanting to say insemination, and there's been huge sort of, questions asked about the energy sources, about where are they going to get this enormous amount of energy, and they say, oh, hang on, we'll use 100% renewable, we'll dig down into volcanoes. And you've probably seen on the news that, the Iceland volcano has erupted, quite a few times over the last few months. And it may not be anything to do with drilling down into the volcano, but it's very, very near to where the blockchain things are, and where the geothermal energy is being used to power those blockchain mainframes.
They use millions of processors.
Millions and millions of processors,
and they use all the high-end graphic ones, which are the hottest, to use the most electricity.
All right.
So that's why they use so much electricity in the mainframe systems that you're talking about.
Yeah.
To do this, it's ridiculous. And they have massive farms of these all over the world.
Yeah.
And you can join it yourself. You can create your own bank and start earning bits of Bitcoin by doing this blockchain thing.
All right.
But huge amounts of money's on the electricity. So.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, does it? And also what doesn't make any sense is that this professor, who is massively influential in the blockchain and Bitcoin industry, also wrote Deep Adaptation, crying about climate chaos, when his, industry that he's been promoting is creating, using more energy than, you can shake a fist at.
And yet they say it's 100% renewable and clean, don't they?
Only in Iceland because they're using geothermal.
Yeah.
Only in Iceland. Nowhere else in the world.
Maybe we're not drilling deep enough like they are.
I think that's what they want on Windscale. They want a nice volcano there so they can start doing geothermal.
Well, to keep on at it, they're going to, that's... Yeah. So, coal and nuclear hand in fourth industrial revolution glove. Yeah, so there's Mr. Nuclear Waste, Mr. Coal, and Mr. Nuclear Waste, it's getting a bit hot under that hat. Can you dig me a big hole? And he's leaking.
Yeah.
And the canary's not looking too happy.
Is that in 2005?
Yeah, ooh, and you're not that old. So no worries. Dig me a big hole. No worries, Mr. Cole. My friends Fujitsu, Atom and Herringnet with blockchain and AI will count the hot radioactive waste packages and they'll mine and tunnel out the massive nuclear dump next to my coal mine. After all, we're all part of the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. So, billions that we're talking about for this the Net Zero Research and Innovation Framework. It's all really is a nonsense. And so the Department for Energy and Net Security and Net Zero includes the Coal Authority, Civil Nuclear Police Authority, Committee on Climate Change, Nuclear Decommissioning Authority, Committee on Radioactive Waste Management, Nuclear Liabilities, Great British Nuclear, which actually should be called the Great British Nuclear Dump, Commissioner for Shale and Gas. It's just all so contradictory and so cronyism as to be unbelievable. Okay. So the first demonstration against the earthquake-inducing coal mine near Sellafield. This is it. Ta-da!
Wow. Hey, it's better than the fracking when it started here.
It's like, stop the coal.
The swans are taking more interest.
Oh, they are, aren't they? We had a good
Yeah,
you know,
good
bevy of swans there.
Yeah.
It was chucking it down as well. It was stop the coal, keep it in the hole. It's too near Sellafield, and people there were with nuclear waste. You know, it's annihilates. We don't, you know, coal mining and nuclear waste should not go together. Of course, this was before we knew the coal mine boss was going to be appointed to the nuclear dump boss.
He's used to all the flack.
Yeah. So that was in 2017. So the nuclear concerns about an earthquake-inducing coal mine just 5 miles from Sellafield and directly below the radioactive wastes in the Cumbrian mud patch on the Irish Sea took centre stage, and they were initially reported in the press. And that directly below the radioactive wastes, there's a mud patch all along the area where the geological nuclear dump is proposed, and the coal mine, where you've got the wastes from Sellafield have been going out for decades and decades. I've just switched something off there, I'm not sure what.
Try again.
Oh no, that's fine. So they've been going out for decades, and the initial idea was that it would dilute and disperse. That was the idea.
To where?
To the Arctic, to everywhere. I mean, Sellafield, I think it takes 5 years for Sellafield waste to reach the Arctic. It takes a lot less time for it to reach the bottom of the Irish Sea on the seabed, and that's where a lot of it is. And so if you get subsidence from the coal mine, which is inevitable, he knows that it's inevitable, and it's, you know, that's been said. Then you get the resurfacing, resuspension of these nuclear wastes. And yet this is the guy that's in charge of a deep nuclear dump.
Nice.
So when climate campaigners got involved, we thought, brilliant, you know, we can relax now, we're all involved. But then we realised that the narrative had changed. There was no mention of nuclear, no mention of the proximity to Sellafield, no mention of earthquakes. And the coal mine boss actually fought tooth. I was the only person at the inquiry that mentioned earthquakes, and he fought tooth and nail to avoid having a traffic light system, as was for fracking.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't want a traffic light system because, you know, it might actually stop it.
Yeah.
And also then it would impact on the, of course, the geological nuclear waste dump, because you've got to drill. That's a bigger void than the coal mine.
Yeah.
You know, it's 26 kilometres square. So that's going to cause a few problems to the geology of the area. 7 years on, it's a different story in the mainstream media. Despite coal and nuclear being hand in fourth industrial revolution love, you know, that's none of this actually gets out. So I'm so happy to be here tonight to you know, speak to you about this. And speaking isn't my forte. I'm much happier doing paintings. And the 3 squirrels up there, it's see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and that's over there. And that was in 2008. Those are from the very first time that Radiation-Free Lakeland went and opposed the first, you know, the second time round GDF plan, nuclear dump plan. And as you can see, we spent a lot of money on our logos. Those are 2 post-it notes.
Okay.
So, you know,
Cool.
So those are the 2 campaigns from Radiation-Free Lakeland. Keep Cumbrian coal in the hole, and Lakes Against Nuclear Dump. And thank you very much. And if you've got any questions,
should we have a tea break now and then?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Quick tea break.
Right, we'll have a quick 5-minute tea break.